What is happening, you beautiful fucking people? We are back at it again. We're going to be reacting to this.
And you are probably taking on these excess things that are super low leverage because they are volatile, they are sporadic, they're not regular. And so
What are you laughing at, man?
Your business idea. It was just incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm still thinking about it.
I'm unable to speak about my $1 billion idea.
Is that because you don't want anybody to steal it, or because you would never be allowed to speak again?
It's a combination of both.
Okay.
But look,
The world will wait.
the world is going to have to wait. But when it happens, it's going to know about it. And Andrew Human is as well.
Yes, for sure.
All right. Controversial opinion.
Okay.
People would need less therapy if they tolerated fewer assholes.
Yeah, I think.
Yes. If you know how to tolerate assholes, you do not need to go to therapy. But therapy is very influential in my own way, because I think therapy is the way that you evolve, way that you try, way that you understand more about yourself when you know nothing about yourself. But the way I look at therapy is that without understanding whatever the fuck you are going through, you may never know until you go to therapy. So, try it out, see how it plays out, see how it works, see how you do, and just try it. And if you don't enjoy it, you don't have to do it. But you need to get help in one form or another.
What? So I hear problems from a lot of people. I get a lot of emails. And I have for almost 20 years now. And it's amazing to me how often people will email me or message me about some issue that's going on in their life. And really, it just comes down to, like, somebody in your life is a dick. And yet, instead of just being like, you know what, I'm not going to hang out with the dick anymore, I'm going to try to change their dickishness. I'm going to try to manipulate it or...
Okay. Number one, for starters, you cannot change people. You can only change your reflection of how you see people, or how you change yourself. Those are the only two main priority things that you can change, is yourself and the reflection of how you see other people. Unless they made a belief so potent that you don't even understand where you could leave this life off to. And knowing that we cannot change anybody should give us freedom in the consent of whatever it is we are going through.
Control it or convince them or have them see the light and understand their own dickitude. And it's just like such a losing battle. And of course they always, you know, the email that comes in is like 8 pages long and it has a full biography of every party involved. And I'm just like, well, what? Maybe just like don't call them back. Like, is it that hard? So I just and when this doesn't even get into the therapy culture thing, you know, like especially when you get on Instagram and you start seeing all these posts about, you know, like you know, if they don't appreciate you at your worst, then they don't deserve you at your best. You know, it's like life's hard. People don't get along. Like some people are disagreeable and some people are going through shit and they'll say mean things to you, and like at a certain point, there's a skill set of deciding what is acceptable and what's not acceptable in your life. And you can either develop that skill set or you can just continue to be subjected to the whims and the assholeness of the people around you.
What do you think are the contributing skills of that skill set?
So I think one reason people get stuck in this is like, one is just the scarcity mindset around relationships, right? So you often hear scarcity mindset around like business and money and all this stuff, and all that stuff is true, but like a lot of people have a scarcity mindset around relationships. They think like, oh, if I stop hanging out with half my friends, then I'm just never going to have friends again. Where it's like, no, there's an abundance of people in the world, and the way life works is that when somebody exits your life, generally somebody new will show up in due time to kind of fill that role. So I think that's one. I think two is just like the courage to speak up, or the courage to stand up for yourself. A lot of people don't feel, I don't know what the word is, like that they have permission to like express what they feel or express that they feel that they've been disrespected. And I also think that a lot of people develop some sort of like codependent emotional attachment to people around them, right? They have their self-esteem is lodged in the minds and mentalities of others, and so
if you're not okay, I'm not okay.
Exactly. And so the idea of like excising you from my life is literally like psychological suicide. Exactly. So it's just not even an option that occurs to them. So yeah, it's like it's such a simple thing, yet so many people struggle so deeply with it. Which, I mean, I sometimes joke with my team that like my whole job is just telling people obvious things in a way that like doesn't feel so difficult, because like most life problems are actually extremely simple and basic. You know, it's like how do you break up with somebody? It's like, well, you just say like, I don't want to be with you anymore. But like that is so emotionally hard and painful. And you know, most of these life issues that I deal with or that I write about, it's extremely simple actions that are laden with so much emotional attachments and neuroticism around it.
It clouds your ability to see just how simple the problem is. I think with the breaking up with someone thing, how many times in history, what percentage of breakups have used the sentence, I just don't want to be with you anymore? That sounds so fucking unsophisticated.
Yeah.
It sounds so shallow. It sounds flippant. It's blasé. It's not very empathetic. If you've got even a fucking hint of scarcity mindset or uncertainty about your future, and you say to somebody, I just don't want to be with you anymore, there's this fear of karmic retribution. You're like, oh, the universe is going to come again. It wasn't because I worked until my health fucking fell apart, and then mum, I needed to help my mother with her. You need this cosmic weight of justification, as opposed to your offering of love is simply just not what I want.
Well, the irony here too is that generally people who are in bad relationships or like unhealthy relationships, one of the reasons they're unhealthy is that there's a running scorecard that's going on. So there's this like running tally in each person's head of like, well, I did this thing for you and I did this other thing for you and you never did this thing for me, and when I was here, like you weren't there to support me, and like there's just like a scoreboard that's always being calculated. And what those people don't realize is that it's the scoreboard itself that is the problem. It's not that one person is like quote unquote winning or losing. And so I think when it comes time to like somebody's like wants to break up or wants to end a friendship or, you know, stop speaking to a family member or whatever, they're thinking of it in terms of the scoreboard. They're like, well, I just need to show this person that my score, like I'm winning the scoreboard right now, and if
I'm justified in my departure.
Exactly. So if they understand that, then they'll understand why I'm like not gonna be their friend anymore. And it's like, well, no, dude, like the scoreboard's actually the problem. Like the fact that you feel a need to keep score in the first place means it's a shitty friendship.
Yeah, I am also concerned about the therapy language culture, the self-pathologization on Instagram, that somebody wasn't mean to you, they were narcissistic, that this wasn't a bad experience, it's caused you trauma, that you're not sad, you've got depression. And in other ways, you think, well, fuck me, it wasn't that long ago that men, and maybe women too, were just totally in fucking denial of any mental health issues. So it seems like we're incapable of sitting in some nice gray area of good balance in the middle, that we can just go from, no, everything's fine, you know, work until I get PTSD, or even the most sort of micro displeasure is a huge supernova event.
Yeah. I actually, I forget where I read it, but I read, it was actually in a research paper where a psychologist at the APA was talking about how he believed that simultaneously people were both underdiagnosed and overdiagnosed. And the way he explained it is he was like, there's a population of, say, people with depression and anxiety. And within that population of people with depression and anxiety, not enough of them are being diagnosed. Like the majority of them are not diagnosed. But then if you look at the circle of people who are being diagnosed,
many of them do not have depression and
exactly. So there's like this Venn diagram of like people who are diagnosed and people who actually have the thing, and there's only a little bit of overlap going on between them.
Wow. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, dude, I think
Scale your marketing with Base 44 super agents. No setup time.
the courage to say to yourself, my needs or my wants are legitimate is a
thing I posted a few years ago where I said it was like the most consequential.
You're like, oh, the universe is going to come again. I didn't have, it wasn't because communication, as opposed to your offering of love is simply just not what I want.
Well, the irony here too is that generally people who are in bad relationships or like unhealthy relationships, one of the reasons they're unhealthy is that there's a running scorecard that's going on. So there's this like running tally in each person's head of like, well, I did this thing for you and I did this other thing for you and you never did this thing for me. And when I was here, like you weren't there to support me. And like, there's just like a scoreboard that's always being calculated. And what those people don't realize is that it's the scoreboard itself that is the problem. It's not that one person is like quote unquote winning or losing. And so I think when it comes time to like, somebody's like wants to break up or wants to end a friendship or, you know, stop speaking to a family member or whatever, they're thinking of it in terms of the scoreboard. They're like, well, I just need to show this person that my score, like I'm winning the scoreboard right now. And if they
I'm justified in my departure.
Exactly. So if they understand that, then they'll understand why I'm like not going to be their friend anymore. And it's like, well, no, dude, like the scoreboard's actually the problem. Like the fact that you feel a need to keep score in the first place means it's a shitty friendship.
Yeah, I am also concerned about the therapy language culture, the self-pathologization on Instagram, that somebody wasn't mean to you, they were narcissistic, that this wasn't a bad experience, it's caused you trauma, that you're not sad, you've got depression. And in other ways, you think, well, fuck me, it wasn't that long ago that men and maybe women too were just totally in fucking denial of any mental health issues. So it seems like we're incapable of sitting in some nice gray area of good balance in the middle, that we can just go from, no, everything's fine, you know, work until I get PTSD, or even the most sort of micro displeasure is a huge supernova event.
Yeah. I actually, I forget where I read it, but I read, it was actually in a research paper where a psychologist at the APA was talking about how he believed that simultaneously people were both underdiagnosed and overdiagnosed. And the way he explained it is he was like, there's a population of, say, people with depression and anxiety. And within that population of people with depression and anxiety, not enough of them are being diagnosed. Like the majority of them are not diagnosed. But then if you look at the circle of people who are being diagnosed,
many of them do not have depression and
anxiety. Exactly. So there's like this Venn diagram of like people who are diagnosed and people who actually have the thing, and there's only a little bit of overlap going on between them.
Wow. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, dude, I think the courage to say to yourself, my needs or my wants are legitimate.
The courage to say my needs or my wants are legitimate. Without making your legitimate wants and needs, you might never know where this life will lead you to. You want to know what this happened, what happened. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what other people want. It matters what you want and need, and are they legitimate, or are they actually just trying to fuck around and find out? So, figure out what are your needs and what are your wants. Figure out if they're legitimate or if they're just based around some basic belief. And of course, do with what you have now. So let's continue.
Is oddly a skill set, because we would think, we're often told about how people aren't that pro-social, they often put themselves ahead of others, and in some ways, in certain situations, perhaps to strangers, perhaps to people that we can't see or don't see in certain ways, we can cut in line of somebody at a traffic junction, or we can get more creative with our taxes than we should do, or obviously not something that I do.
Cut that.
Yeah, the IRS. I am under the scrutiny of the IRS now, but yeah.
You pulled out an IRS joke. That's some comical stuff right there.
I've been there. We could talk about that.
Oh, well, okay. I need to know about this. What happened?
Oh, I've been audited 3 times. Yeah.
You've been audited, so that means that some guy with a pencil and a pad of paper comes in and looks at every receipt, everything.
Okay, so principally yes. In practicality, no. See, when I got audited, just a little backstory of my career. I had a hit, for people listening, I had a hit book. It went absolutely supernova, so my income basically like 100x'd in like 2 or 3 years, which obviously tripped some red flags at the IRS.
What they think you were doing?
I don't know. And then there's all that you get into all this weird stuff about territories, right? Like, so it's like royalties are taxed differently in different states.
Oh, how many books did you sell in the United Arab Emirates, and how much was in Hawaii versus
Texas?
Idaho?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like there's a lot of bullshit like that. But so when the initial audits came in, I was absolutely terrified, right? Because it's like, this is my worst nightmare. This is gonna be awful. And then after the first call with the IRS agent, I remembered something like very fortuitous, which was that government employees have no fucking clue what they're doing. And so the audit, like,
just for anybody else that's still listening from the IRS, or all of the people from the IRS, I don't think that at all.
Yeah.
That was a sentence that Mark said. I think that you're perfectly competent and really should apply your resources, your very well resourced resources, outside of this room.
Yeah. I must have just gotten the one bad one. I'm sure. Yep. But yeah, they didn't look at anything. And actually, hilariously, the error, they found an error that my old CPA made, and it worked in my favor. So I actually profited from my IRS audits.
All three of them?
All 3 of them.
Wow.
I made like almost $200K from my IRS.
Let's fucking go. Thank you, IRS.
200 fucking K? God damn, Mr. Manson. You were making stacks off of that. 200K, congrats. Congrats, that requires a 3-second clap. I'd like to say congrats to Mark Manson for making 300K on each audit. I never expected that to truly happen. I never expected the IRS could give you back that amount of money. I can't believe he audited that much from the IRS. Congrats, Mark. If you're listening to this prior to this recording, if you're listening to this, hopefully enjoy this video, because we are not done with this video yet. So let's lock and load, let's stay liquid, and let's be unique.
Yeah. Well, actually, maybe I should be audited.
Yeah. Audit me more.
Yeah. Okay, but we do things to people that we don't know. We often put ourselves ahead of them.
Yeah.
However, it seems like with the people who should have our best interests at heart, the people with whom we have given the most of ourselves, invested our time, our energy.
When we're given most of ourselves and we invested our time and energy within this conversation, within this happenstance, within whatever it is, we are giving ourselves to somebody. We're giving our time, we're giving our energy, we're giving our things to this one person because we care about them, we like them, we hope to God we never lose them. And through this, we may never know where this life will lead us to, which is the best part about the unknown and the void, in my personal opinion, is that without knowing where this life will lead you to, you may never know where this life will end. So let's continue.
it's very difficult to put ourselves first. We often subjugate our needs.
We often subjugate our needs for other things that we want to get. We often put ourselves, the difficult of ourselves first, because we subjugate the certain needs of our people or other people that we may never know where this life will lead us to.
In place of somebody else. I'm not going to upset them because if I upset them, that something.
Yeah.
The fucking sentence, the syntax stops there.
Yeah.
Just falls off a cliff. If I upset them, then catastrophe, disaster, something bad will occur.
Yeah. I mean,
And when we catastrophize, we put ourselves at rock bottom. We put ourselves within the rock bottom of our certainty of the uncertain one that is waiting to happen. And through this, we may never know where this life will lead us to, which is the best part about catastrophizing disaster, is that we may never know what will happen until it truly happens. Which I think is the best part.
it's a little bit paradoxical. And there's a cliche, and it's a cliche for a reason because it's true, which is, it's the old put on your own oxygen mask first before you try to help somebody else. And I mean, relationships fundamentally function that way, where it's like you have to have a healthy relationship with yourself and your own self-worth before you're able to really kind of contribute. And
because we put ourselves first. We need to put ourselves first because we know what we need, we know what we want, we know what we need to have, which means we know how we are, how we act, how we do, how we become, because we are not blindsided by the fact that we are trying to get better, that we are trying to build that understanding, that we are trying to become that better version of ourselves.
Give in a healthy way to anybody else. And the same is true vice versa. So like if you grow up in an environment with two parents who are emotionally dysfunctional, right? They're going to be deriving their self-worth and validation from you or from somebody else. And so they're not going to give you like the nurturing and support and everything that you need to grow up and be healthy yourself and learn how to put your own mask on yourself. So it becomes kind of this chain reaction that goes down through generations. And it's weird because it's like if you're talking to somebody who's like never had an oxygen mask on in their life, and you try to explain to them like what why they need an oxygen mask, like they don't understand what you're talking about.
What do you mean? Look after myself.
Yeah, exactly.
What does that mean?
Yeah, it's like you're almost like speaking a different language, but it is paradoxical when you tell people to like put yourself first, because that sounds completely antithetical to like what a healthy, loving relationship looks like from the outside. But like from the outside, a healthy relationship is like two people who are voluntarily giving themselves to each other like consistently and perpetually. But on the inside, what a healthy relationship feels like is like you are satisfied with yourself. And
the way I look at a happy relationship, you both are satisfied, you both know what you want, you both get what you have, and you both are putting yourselves forward within that conversation or that relationship because you know what is best for yourself, others, and most importantly, yourself. Because you've been living with yourself however many years you've been on this planet. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Leave a like and save if you want to come back to it. Subscribe if you're new. Turn on that notification bell so you know whenever I post. And let's continue with this video.
Because you're satisfied with yourself, your cup is overflowing, and so you're happy to like just hand off.
I literally used this analogy with 2 Girls, 1 Bible the other day, which was you don't serve people from your cup, you serve them from the source that overflows around your cup.
Nice.
I like that.
You don't serve people from your cup, you serve them from 2 Girls, 1 Bible the other day, which was you don't serve people from your cup, you
don't serve people from your cup, you serve people from your cup that is overflowing within that cup. Whatever it is you are overflowing within content, within perspective, within conversation, everything lasts, everything comes, and everything has a point to not be wasted time on whatever it is you are wasting your time on. So don't waste your time, don't waste your energy, and most importantly, don't waste your mental health just because somebody else does not want to know about your mental health. So find the cups you want to overflow with who actually push yourself, that make yourself better, that make yourself seem better, and to hopefully build that relationship into a blooming conversation.
Serve them from the saucer that overflows around your cup.
Ah, nice.
And it's true. Like, I mean, look, that's not necessarily true all the time. You can have a half-full cup and be like, yo, let's take it down to a quarter, please have some.
Yeah.
But it's not good.
Yeah.
It's not a good strategy.
No, and it backfires. I mean, I'll give you a tangible example. So
it's really not a good strategy, because then you are pouring your energy into other people's cups. You're pouring energy into other people's perspective or their happenstance. So we must know with what we are doing, because with what we are doing is what we are. And if what we are is more than what we do, then we need to know what we must do to become that better version.
So, my wife and I, we have a friend, and she's biological clock's ticking, right? She wants to find a husband. Great woman, super smart, beautiful, everything. But she really wants to find a husband. And like, it's actually, she's starting to panic. And so what she's doing is she's like adapting her entire life to like finding a husband. Like, it's like, she's gotten rid of her hobbies, and now she's going to the gym all the time, and she's like just
improv classes and salsa dancing.
It's like everything is optimized to like find Mr. Right. And as a result, she's kind of killed her own personality. Like, she has no more interest for herself.
Yeah.
She has no free time for herself. She's not doing anything for herself anymore. And ironically, it's like she's meeting tons of guys, and obviously it's not going anywhere. Why? Because she has no fucking personality. Her cup's not overflowing. She's trying to give everything away all the time. And you see this, I mean, it happens on both genders, but it's like a self-defeating, it's just a paradoxical thing. It's like the more you cultivate yourself, the more you'll kind of become magnetic towards others.
I love the insight. In order for art to imitate life, you have to live a life.
Yeah, you have to have a life in the first place.
Or else, it's the same reason that comedians who get successful start only talking about airports and dinners and backstage.
Yeah.
Because that's all you know.
Yeah.
You don't do, Whitney Cummings told me the story, it's so fucking good. So she's in the writer's room in chief boss bitch mode maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago,